Hello, Studio 108 community. I'm so excited to be seated here with Lisa Turner. We've had a really fun couple of weeks gathering little raffle tickets of people who like to have a reading.
Yes.
Not only that, but everyone who's following the astrology is talking about the big alignments coming in March, and today is March 1st. I know you'll be listening to this a week later than today, but nonetheless, we're at the beginning, and it's not just the beginning. It's like these are alignments that are going to be impacting us for quite a while. Most of them.
Some of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Some of them. Because we're gonna do kind of like that rundown. I was actually laughing because as I was preparing my notes for today, you know, one of the podcasts that we did was about Mars and Gemini. Mars is still in Gemini.
Oh yeah, that was wild.
Like we're still finishing that up. So there's some things that haven't moved out of the way yet.
Busy. And we do have our raffle winner who shall remain unnamed for this episode. But you know who you are, listener. Lucky listener. And yeah, so this is the first time we've done it. I think we'll do it again because it was really a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And I was telling Tracy, this is my first time. Usually I always have a client or a student in front of me. And this is the first time that I don't. So it's a new thing for me too.
Yeah.
That is lots of fun.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So what else is new this month?
So as I was kind of sitting with, the little highlights that I want to do, there is something that I say at the end of every yoga class. After Shavasana, when we're sitting in our final seated asana, I always say we extend from root to crown, from earth to sky, from this physical, tangible, material world to the ethereal, to the unseen, to the spiritual. And as I was thinking about, Saturn moving into Pisces and then Pluto dipping its toe into Aquarius, I was thinking about that journey. Our astrology chart, our natal chart, it has to work itself out in this physical world.
Yes.
So my approach to reading for clients is that we are spiritual beings in a human experience, in a physical experience. And if this is just where our soul finds itself, these are the experiences that our soul, whether we believe that our soul is here to kind of experience, to learn, to evolve, to grow, that is my approach. But we also need to root here in earth first, right? We were talking about sometimes people like to bypass that and they just want to do the spiritual stuff. But, we do have to grow from root to crown, from earth to sky.
And sometimes I'll say, like, we don't have to learn to be spiritual. We are spiritual.
Exactly.
But we have to learn to be human.
Yeah.
Like we're here to learn to be a good human. We're here to learn how to anchor in all of our spiritual aspects into this physical three-dimensional world we're living in.
Yes.
We have to make this spiritually advanced.
Yes.
Yeah. All of that, heaven can take care of itself.
Yes.
Heaven is heavenly.
Yes.
But earth needs,
Yes. So, when we think of our astrology chart and the geometry of what goes involved, which we always ask for your birthday, your time, and your city of birth to create this circle. And Tracy has a handy dandy little handout that I made.
I'm holding it up for the YouTube folks. If you are on audio podcast, I'm holding a sign that is a circle, and then the circle is cut like a square, or a plus sign. A plus sign. So it's like if you had a pie and you were sharing it between 4 people, and you just made a horizontal and a vertical line across that circle. So that's what I'm holding if you're just on audio.
Yes. So one of the quotes that I really, really love is by Bernadette Brady, and I use this a lot in teaching. And she quotes that the cross represents the physical and deals with the physical world. In symbolic language, the circle implies wholeness or spirituality. Therefore, a cross in a circle is a symbolic statement of spiritual essence placed into the physical world, or physical essence striving for spiritual wholeness. This is our astrology chart. If we, cut it up in, a couple more houses, we have all of our houses. And I really wanted to lay that foundation because we are doing, a chart reading later. But this is my, this is our approach. We are these spiritual beings looking for spiritual wholeness, and we need to interact with that in this physical world.
So this is how we learn it.
And this is how we learn it. Exactly. Exactly. So,
I think it was Iyengar that talks about the gunas, like the aspects of humans, like our rajas, which is our fire, our desire, our tamas, which is our inertia, and rudeness, and our sattva, our purity, and like how those are all the gifts that we are using towards our advancement. So everything in this three-dimensional world is for our growth and development.
yes. And I was telling Tracy earlier that, a lot of times clients will come in and they will say, what is my purpose? Or how can I be more spiritual? And, we are under the impression, some of us, not me, but some people,
Probably.
that we are in this life, and our astrology chart is going to tell us this big, remarkable thing that we're supposed to be doing, that we're going to become famous for, or we're going to make a whole bunch of money for. And, to go back to what you just said, what happens, this chart just shows us how to be a good human, right? To lead a whole, spiritual, beautiful life.
Yeah. And I was talking about my nodes because my south node, which is like the entry point, the gifts I come here with, is in Sagittarius, which is really much the adventure, the center stage, the big voice and presence. And then my north node, which is where I'm traveling to, what would it opposite be? Gemini, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Gemini is more like partnerships, smaller
communities, smaller communities,
smaller little. And recently something came up that was like an opportunity for me to like go out there big, and I'm like, it doesn't feel like it's a line anymore. Like for me, growing wasn't from the small to the big. For me, my growth was from that big stage to something much smaller. And like, look how happy I am just anchoring in our community here.
Yes.
And so no to that opportunity. I'm just here serving my community. This is so satisfying for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to kind of set that stage for that, as far as, chart reading and how I view the chart and feel the chart out. The rundown astrologically, the little highlights, we do have the Venus in Aries. Mercury's going to start heading into Pisces. We still have that Mars in Gemini. And I went through the ephemeris to make the dates. August 21st, 2022 is when Mars entered Gemini. Long time. And
because Mars moves a little bit faster
than
that.
Had that retrograde.
Yeah. So it's just like kind of forever in Gemini. Long-term relationship.
7 months. So Mars will head into Cancer, and you might notice that things get a little bit more moodier. Jupiter into Aries. It's going to fly through Aries because then we have, that Jupiter into Taurus. Saturn into Pisces, March 8th. When you look at your degrees in your chart, if you have 0 to 7 degrees in Pisces or in the mutable signs, Saturn will trigger those. Again, Saturn is Earth, this physical, tangible, material world, and Pisces is the ethereal, the unseen, the spiritual realm. Pluto is going to move into Aquarius March 24th. If you have degrees later in Capricorn, the 27, 28, 29, you're still, or maybe newly, going to be triggered by that transit, and then it dips into Aquarius just to 0 degrees. So it's like a little toe touch. I know that there's been a lot of big things like, Aquarius, or Pluto's moving into Aquarius. It is, but it's kind of just going to be like a little things that it's a hint. It's exactly.
And I know it's my Saturn return.
Ooh, nice.
Right, but it's not until the later degrees of Pisces.
Right,
so
you have time to wait.
Yeah, it's just easing and frustrating.
Yeah,
so it's going to be a little longer ride.
And as I was thinking about, you have these 2 shifts, right? We have Saturn and Pisces, which has been before. I think it was like 90, late 90s, like 96, 95, 96-ish, somewhere in there, I think.
Exactly.
The last time
was
was
96, 97.
But with Pluto moving in to Aquarius, I thought about this artificial intelligence, right? And our connection to humanity and what, you know, just questions that we might start asking, you know, how much is too much? You know, where do we blur the line between scientific advancement and humanity? Like literally human beings, humanity.
100%.
And some of the things that might start coming up.
And how do we apply it with ethics?
Yes.
And integrity.
Exactly. So, and with Saturn being in Pisces, how that kind of changes and forms our spirituality. Again, our spiritual beings having a human experience.
And these aren't really new topics. These have been going on. So it's not like anything surprising. It's just the next step of the progression.
Exactly.
I feel like there's a little bit of accountability coming ahead for us.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think you used the word sober up the last time.
I did. And I still believe that that is going to be a valid point. But, you know, what happens when, you know, people sober up or they go to AA or whatever the groups are, they usually have a spiritual undertone, right? Some connection to faith. So they, to me, they still go hand in hand. Yeah. Exactly. They still go hand in hand.
If you're going to actually make the progress. So maybe it's like the difference between talking about sobering up and actually showing up at the meeting.
Yes, and it's the accountability of it.
Relying on your faith and relying on something to kind of support you in making the change.
Exactly.
I don't know if anyone's really going to be untouched. I think we're all just going to have to.
We're all meant to be touched.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't talk about the chakras very much in class, specifically. But you know, going through our chakra journey, right? We need to get the roots first, our basic needs met before we can start ascending up. So, you know, and maybe just taking that moment to kind of reevaluate where you are. Where am I at in that journey, in that part of the journey? Am I still, you know, we need a job, right? That's part of our basic needs. We need a purpose.
And we're here to bump up against each other. We're here to get triggered. We're here to have these experiences.
Yes.
What's next?
So Pluto moves so slow. So slow. It's been in Capricorn since 2008. So, you know, whatever it is that Pluto is going to bring, it's going to be slow. It's going to be slow. It's going to impact you more if it has those degrees in your chart.
Gotcha. And it's also Pluto the collective. So it might be a little bit of what is going on around us.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily me personally be triggered, except that what's going on around me is going to impact me.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do have a new eclipse cycle going to start, which, you know, I'll get into. I was actually looking at our podcast schedule because I'm like, do I need to talk about the eclipses? And I'm like, no, not we're good. We get to do the eclipses on the next one. So those eclipses will start shifting into the Aries Libra axis. So that is also going to start changing. But we do have a chart winner. Do you want to throw anything out before we move into our chart winner?
No, I'm excited to see, because I think what will be interesting and what you can listen for is like Lisa will be looking at this chart and talking about it, and she's going to be talking about how the aspects that we're going through right now impact this particular person's chart. And you can get a feel for what she might do with your chart if you would like to get a reading, or exactly how that works when you do get a reading. You know, so.
And I don't have this individual here, and I don't know anything. I don't know this individual personally.
Actually, I don't even think this person practices in your classes.
Yeah, no, I
know this person's practice.
Yeah, so I don't.
A new person to you.
Yeah, so very new person to me. So what you'll hear me saying a lot are usually a couple different ways in which things can manifest, or the way in which I see it. And if I had this person in front of me, I would be asking, you know, how does that resonate? You know, a lot of the times in consult or in readings, it's usually how I'm kind of forming the words and where I feel like it's going. I use this example a lot. Mars, right? We know Mars is anger, war, frustration, but Mars can also be a very athletic person. Mm-hmm. So I may say, oh, are you really frustrated? Or do you have to do you have a lot of pent up energy that you have to get out? And maybe they will be like, no, but I'm really athletic. Yeah. So, you know, it's just kind of,
I've learned how to work with my Mars fire.
Exactly. How I'm wording it and how it applies. All right. So one of the things that I did with this chart, just to kind of go through my method of madness, is I actually changed this individual's chart, if I can find it, here it is, to a whole sign chart. And that's typically what I do when we go through the astrology house by house. And the reason why I did that is because this individual ended up with interceptions. So I felt to kind of I did it both ways. I looked at them both ways, but I kept the whole sign to specifically look at, but just so that you know, in case you want to know, that was my method of madness.
That's the backstory.
That's the backstory. And the other thing that I have to do is I have to take notes, as in everything. Because I will lose my train of thought very easily.
Well, it's detail work.
Yes. And, you know, our life is full of stories. So if you think of the age that you are, a lot of things have happened in your life. And as an astrologer, I'm picking out this one or two things that kind of stands out to me. But you have a whole life and a whole story, which is why sometimes when you are going in for any type of consultation, to have like your questions that you really want asked, because what I might see or pull out may be different than what Tracy really wants to know, or this individual really wants to know.
I think that sometimes people too attend readings in order to test the reader. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm here for a reading to see if you really are going to be spot on in reading me, rather than.
Oh, and I'm totally guilty of that. In my young days, totally.
Yeah, and I mean, I watch Tyler Henry sometimes. Do you guys know him? And he does the readings and the channelings. And sometimes people are just like, oh, he's really good. And I'm like, yeah, but do you hear what he's saying? It's like, so there's insight that comes through, and you have to kind of take what you want and leave the rest, and also be open, because Lisa is very gifted and she's bringing through what might be helpful for you in a way that you didn't anticipate. So it's fun stuff.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So in this individual's chart, some of the things that stood out for me, just in her lunar phase alone, so we're born under a lunar phase, this individual she's in a releasing phase. So it's like a closure phase. She could feel as though, like she marches to the beat of her own drum. Not everybody sees it, but she knows it. She has this inner knowing that she needs to move towards the future. Oftentimes, individuals with this lunar phase, they feel the need to break away from the past, the lineage, whether it is a religious orientation, you know, political, it doesn't matter. They're breaking away
social
groups, exactly.
Maybe life stage things that were specific to certain life stages.
It's like this inner knowing that they need to do it different. Again, they're marching to the beat of their own drum, and could have felt like a black sheep, right? Like finding that place of where do they belong. Now, because they're clearing, right? They're in a clearing phase. Sometimes there's panic of not knowing, right? Am I making the right decisions? Am I moving towards the future? The way in which I feel it or sense it. The other thing with this phase is they can find as though, and in this chart specifically, I felt like this resonated a lot, is they could feel like they are the voice for the oppressed, right? Or the underdog, where they really have that call to help the underdog or the misunderstood, because in some way they can feel as though they were misunderstood. Usually carry a serious nature, can be ahead of their time as well. And that's just through this person's lunar phase.
Where is the moon in this chart?
She is in the dark moon.
Got you.
She's in the dark moon.
Huh.
So that was just the lunar phase. And then looking at the chart specifically, and the reason why I pulled these things out is because from an astrological place, by transits, they're going to start getting triggered. So I felt that there was, I don't use this word often because karma, because it has this, it's seeded to mean a very like certain thing, like I have to cut the karmic ties, or we have a karmic connection, right? Like there can be, it could either be romanticized or villainized.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't really use that a lot, but in this case that I will, around a karmic tie around family, safety. They're specifically around potentially the father, maybe not seeing men clearly, men in general, or the father. Maybe the father wasn't around a lot, or there was distrust of some sort, possible a loss even. It felt as though the early life prior to the first Saturn return could have been difficult and challenging.
And that would have been up to about 27, 28, 29. So those first 27, 28, 29 years.
And then as soon as this person hit the first Saturn return, that's when they would most likely have experienced lessons around boundaries, how to say no, because this person looks as though they could be a very compassionate individual, probably very caring, again going back to, you know, being the voice for the oppressed, as well. However, along with that sense of heightened sense of compassion and gifts and spirituality and creativity, also can lie escapism, right? So that kind of almost sometimes like that heightened sense of spirituality also, because boundaries can play a role in this person's chart. When they were born, because I do have them as a Saturn, a Capricorn rising in either chart. When they were born, there could have been emphasis placed on health, or emphasis placed on needing help from others. The chart is very centered around other people. There's that feeling of breaking free from the past. Potential work could be psychology or research. Communication is very strong. Self-expression is very strong in the chart. And I felt as though that whatever hardships that they had experienced early on in life kind of led them to potentially be powerhouse is this word that comes to mind, but kind of like the powerhouse of I'm going to go and get them, and I'm going to be, you know, successful, and I'm going to take charge and do the things that I need to do.
I just have to smile because this is like my whole heart loving this person.
Okay. So, you know, when I look at the harder aspects, right? So when we think of like a loss, or, you know, gullible is the word that comes to mind, but like someone who's very compassionate or could easily to be taken advantage of, you know, that can knock a person down, or that could feel like a hard aspect, which can show up in a chart that way. But this individual has what I call like the out, right? There's something that starts to brew going, okay, you know, this was the circumstance, but I have this chart that has the ability now to power through that and create.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some gusto.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. You guys, I just love us all. Intricate humanity is, like the humanity that each of us carries inside of our skin, and the way we just engage with life in stories and just get up every stinking morning to just go at it again. So yeah, thanks for letting me participate.
So the reason why I kind of, you know, honed in on one of the specific aspects in their chart is because Saturn and Jupiter are going to start triggering this. So, you know, with this individual listening, or, you know, if they want to message me and I can, you know, touch base with them, I'd like them to go back to 2015 and reflect. Because what happens is like everything, we start a story. And when we start that story, I always encourage people to go back and think about what was happening in their life, what was happening to their life as far as communication, education, schooling, learning, you know, where do those things fall in that time period? And notice where, you know, were there things coming up with parents or father, or, you know, the desire of who am I, right? Or did 2015 kind of
motherhood
set up, you know, a time period where you start really setting goals for yourself, or maybe the career path that you were on, you weren't really feeling fulfilled, and it was, you know, more of a draining time.
And really, 2015 doesn't seem like it's that long ago, but so much has happened.
Oh, for sure.
It feels like a lifetime ago. So even any of us could reflect back those 7 years and say, what's the story?
Absolutely.
Where is it coming from?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So with this individual chart, as they come through some of these transits, it's going to be asked again, you know, where communication is very strong in this individual's chart. Also learning things that they want to know, things that they are curious about, things that enhance their sense of self and purpose, and maybe even creativity. This individual also has the potential, whether they want to travel or explore, or I got the feeling of just learning, exploring, even moving. If they really wanted to move, they also have the potential to move as well. Now, I say this, and again, I don't know this person or this person's chart. If they are a grandparent or have children, you know, children, grandchildren, creativity, expression, like all of those things kind of start to mold together. And maybe that's why there's an expansion in the home and the family versus moving. So I didn't feel like there was anything daunting in the chart. What I do feel, though, is that this person is redefining who they are, kind of
you know, like redefining who you are sounds like, my first reaction is like, how exciting. And then I remember how it can feel.
Yes.
And sometimes it can feel like a lot of tears in the middle of the night.
Yes. So, and it is
which isn't daunting.
No, but
it's
Saturn
real.
Saturn is hard. So, you know,
soul searching.
It is a soul searching, but here's what I love about this chart specifically. There is a little soul searching. There is a little redefining. You know, if this person's parents are still around, that parental story could kind of come up again. If they have aging parents to go through, you know, finances, estate matters, all of those things, that could also, you know, potentially be, you know, what's coming up. But redefining purpose, redefining, you know, who they are can be tough, but you have Jupiter coming in.
Gotcha.
See,
Yeah.
you might be redefining and having to break some ties, but you need to do it to move forward.
And
you
the
don't
energy
need
is
to,
there.
but you know,
But yeah,
the energy is there, you know,
to
too,
support you.
to support you.
I mean, and I feel like we all have that portion of cycle in our life. So for this person in this chart, it could be looking like a little bit more immediate, but we're all going to be
Yes,
we're all going to get that trigger at some point.
absolutely.
Because this is being human. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So I really, you know, it looked as though the past couple years, my little cheat sheet dropped. But
Which did you name?
it didn't drop. It's sitting right here.
Oh, it's sitting underneath.
You know, it looked as though the past couple years, right around 2021, 2022, specifically 2022, you know, things could have shaken up a little bit. So, been shaken up a little bit as far as home and family stuff, emotional stuff. And I feel as though the time period kind of coming in is going to clear out any of the stuff that's kind of that they've been trying to hold on to or trying to figure out, so that they can move forward. A lot of, you know, the chart again is about, to me, was about finding that sense of freedom and individuality and really kind of owning and
Next stage.
yes. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. I thought it was very exciting. You know, I liked it a lot. You know, Saturn stuff is hard. Saturn stuff to your sun is hard. It is. It is. You know, there's like this pull down with Saturn stuff. But, you know, I did do a quick look at the progressions, and, you know, even in the progressions, there's this, it looks as though there's this, excitement or this desire to travel, to learn, to get new ideas moving. So if they've been feeling stagnant, they're desiring that.
Yeah.
And part of that desire might have to break away, right, from what they've been doing.
100%, which actually can be challenging, but if you're invested in the excitement of it, then you can be on the optimistic side of change, which is inevitable anyway.
Yeah. And I think with the sun, you know, the sun in the chart, we often think of the purpose or the vitality. You know, what am I here for? They have a strong, like I said earlier, a strong communication or learning, yes, energy in the chart. So, you know, maybe it has grown a little stagnant, or maybe their communication style needs to shift and change as well. And then they will also get a Pluto transit, but that is not going to be until like 2025. So, and that again may start to redefine communication or whatever, networking, spiritual, anything, whatever way in which this individual helps community or participates in community, that is going to kind of get a little facelift, so to speak. But I feel as though that what this individual is starting now, or where they see things that have to kind of be reevaluated and looked at, this is kind of setting that stage for it.
Right. One of the things that I really love about, you know, just yoga, meditation, these conversations, like all of it, like this kind of engaged lifestyle, is that awareness and curiosity is such a powerful tool for riding gracefully. So the waves are always going to come up and down, and things are always going to cycle through, and there's always going to be things that I like, don't like, welcome, don't welcome, like whatever. But the attitude of awareness and willingness and curiosity and experimentation and exploration, like those are like my power tools to at least keeping myself pliable enough to work with things as they come up and not constantly be pushing away and fighting with and avoiding.
And nor fear it.
Fearing, yes. Fearing.
You know,
I don't have to have anxiety around it. Like, I'm not sure what's going to happen.
I really think that, and I know that I've grown as an astrologer and as a person, a spiritual being in a human body, is that you know, I kind of approach things like, well, I don't know. This is what I think, you know, but I don't really know. You know, in my own life, I see hard things coming up and I'm like, okay. And then I have to breathe and go, but I don't know.
I remember when I was moving with my kids and they were little and I'm like, we can live anywhere. Do you want to live in a tent? Do you want to live in a cave? Do you want to like just to like all the options get kind of okay. And then that way I feel like I'm not as desperate to control.
I don't know what it's like. My soul came in with a very strong sense of beliefs and love of spirituality and religion and philosophy. I mean, it's just how my soul came in. So when I teach or when I'm in consult with a client, everything is really spiritually based, because you know what? I'm 45 years old and I trust the process. I trust the experience that's coming to me and know that there is this higher power, and that higher power has my back. Like, you can't say, you know, I'm so blessed to be on this road and man, God, you got this right, but you really messed that up. Like, it just doesn't work that way. You know, it's,
we start out with faith. We
we
out
did
exactly.
exactly.
For everything we began saying we have to have faith. That's how you implement the you know, the growth process.
So you know, when you and I think it's also helpful to for me anyways, when you look at it and you're like, okay, my soul came in with this chart, and some things, like, they rock and they're awesome, and some things are a little challenging, and that's okay. And I might go through this great abundant transit that's going to bring travel and maybe a move and maybe all of these other things. I mean, there's some hard things come up, and it's okay. Let you know, and it's okay.
Well, and there's this idea that comes to me via my practice, because I didn't know this before I practiced yoga, is that I've got me. I'm okay with me. I can trust me to take care of me. And then, you know, I've got my grounded earth and I've got my faith wrapping around, and the cross is in the circle, and the ground is there, and I can rise up, and it's sort of a lot more functional than the crazy way I used to live.
Yeah.
Which was very, very crazy, by the way, you guys.
I actually
later, smoking cigarettes and Mountain Dew. It was like, who is this person?
I actually looked up like how we forget. How do we forget that we are spiritual beings in this human experience? And it was beautiful, and because it's our mind. We become so attached to thoughts
and distracted.
Yes, and just exactly.
Distracted from ourselves, distracted from our truth.
Yes.
Every shiny object.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know, it just, I mean, that's why we come to yoga, right? To find that center again, just as you were saying. I know, yoga to me is the cure for everything. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
There's so much recentering that happens on your mat in a studio. I mean,
and don't be deterred by a bad practice.
Yeah.
Because you think this was a bad practice. It could have been the most groundbreaking, or it could have been a bad practice and it's going to be better. Like, you just have to keep showing up.
Yes.
And I love this because this person is grounded in their practice. So I know that they're going to really appreciate hearing everything you brought forward. Is there anything else?
No,
I think we're good.
I just wanted to touch base on that specifically because that's what was going to start coming up this year through that
Yeah.
Saturn transit
Yeah.
and Jupiter.
And you know this person has your number and has texted with you, so they'll reach out.
Yes,
with any
please
follow-up
do.
thoughts.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And-
please
and
do.
I feel like I've said this before, but it's really, really important to me. I never leave anyone like hanging or mystified.
Right,
If
right,
you
right.
have a question, always reach out.
Right.
Because I remember, I remember going for a reading once and it was something that was said that had me like, I was young. And it is something had me like in a panic.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to ever feel that way. So, if anything's like questionable or
Especially
unsure,
because when you're not here, then
well,
it's
yeah,
really
and you're not
easy.
here.
So I can't ask clarifying questions. I can't
Yes.
ask how it relates to me personally.
Correct.
And I wouldn't know anyone well enough to assume that I would know what's in their chart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
So if you would like the details, and I'll reach out to them afterwards,
Love that.
and let me.
And keep your eyes peeled, ears open for another opportunity. Meanwhile, we're all riding these transits in
We
some
are.
way.
We are.
So buckle up, Buttercup.
The
It's gonna be
Pisces, the
good.
Pisces, the Virgos, the Pisces, the Virgos, the Geminis, the Sages, those are those mutable signs, those changeable signs, those are the ones, depending on degree, are likely to feel, that Saturn transit the most.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right. I'm in Aries, so I didn't hear my name called. It's like waiting for the date card. Am I in the group date or the one-on-one?
You're at some point, you're gonna get that Jupiter
Oh,
triggering your sun.
100%. Right. No one gets out of jail free here.
We get to have fun.
Yes.
Live.
And we have each other. So come in and practice with us. Lean into your community here. That's what we're here for. We really love serving you. And we're practicing right along with you. So
Yes.
go with many blessings. Remember who you are. And thank you for following. Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.
Awesome.